Here we have the Team Corrali Spark 6BX, the Syncro 4, and the Team Corrali Asuga XLR. And in today's video, we're going to take a look and compare these three buggies to each other. What's going on, everybody? Tyson here with Garage Life RC, and today we are taking a look at these three Team Corrali buggies, because if you are just browsing around and you see this Team Corrali stuff pop up and you're like, they released the Asuga buggy, and then they released the Spark buggy, and now they released the Syncro 4 buggy, you're just like, what is the differences between all these buggies? Why is Team Corrali all over these buggies all of a sudden, and do they do anything other than the buggies? And you might ask yourself, well, what is the difference between all these buggies, and why do I want this one versus this one, or which one do I want? They're all different pricing. We're just going to do a very high overview look at them all together, but more so we're going to compare these two here, the Spark and the Syncro, to the Asuga. And the reason we're doing that is I already have a comparison video between these two, the price differences, and why there is a price difference, and what the real difference between the two buggies are. And so you can go ahead and watch that video to see the differences between those two. But when we compare those two to the Asuga, that's where you start to see some real differences. So first and foremost, just taking a look at them, you can obviously tell that the Asuga is quite a bit bigger. Now, they don't label this in a class. They say it's X% bigger than a 1/8 scale buggy. So is it 7 scale? Is it 6 scale? I don't really know. They don't label it as a scale. But when you look at it from the outside, it pretty much looks like both of those. It looks like a buggy. That's just blown up and a little bit bigger. So that's what it is. And so when you take off the body of it here, you get a lot of the same look and feel as these two. So you really have your same Team Corrali layout. You just have a lot more space on this one. Not quite as condensed, but you have the same style servo and receiver box. That's all in one. Over here you just have a lot more space around it. Over there it's a little bit tighter, but it's the same box. Same type of setup with the center differential, but a little bit different top mounting here, as on this one you have a straight across chassis brace from front to back. You have the spots here to do it, but it doesn't come with it. And then here you have some plastic chassis braces that also go into the aluminum chassis braces, and they're kind of angled down a little bit to give a little bit steadier of bracing. So you have that here. Comparative, it sits a lot higher, as you can tell just by looking at it. You got a little bit bigger of tires here, but just take a look at the wings back there. This is up a lot higher, as these arms seem to sit more level and straight across, as where this one's kind of pushing you up a little bit higher, which a lot of that is probably just set up right in the shocks and the oil weight and springs that they come with out of the box is how they have it set up, with a lot more ground clearance. But I do have a few videos on this, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I had a really bad landing right on the front tire, and I did break the driver's side control arms and bent the drive shaft. I think bending the drive shaft was probably my fault. I don't think it happened in the landing, but I kept driving it after that. But this here, you still do have the 6S system. So you have the same system in here as you have in the Spark, but you have a lot bigger. So one of the things that pops into my mind is we have the same power plant here as we have in the Spark, but this vehicle is a lot bigger. This vehicle drives really well in 6S. I think you could have a lot of fun if you upped it to 8S on this. I think it's powerful enough at 6S, but the Spark is really, really fun on 6S. This is just a little bit heavier, a little bit longer, and a smidge wider of a vehicle. So obviously that takes a little bit more power to handle. But you still have a lot of the same features on here as the Spark. You're just really looking at a little bit different of sizing between the two. I think the Syncro is not even really in the same class if you're comparing to the Asuga here at all. That one's just not even worth the comparison. And again, I've compared that to the Spark. But if you're comparing, if you're trying to decide between the price range of what I want to get, and you're looking here, see, you can see the difference in the size here. But as far as like the comparison of what you're really comparing, they have the same system. They got the same upgrades as far as aluminum and spring steel outcups. They're pretty much all the same actual upgrades. So you got your sway bars, just a little bit different tire size. So then it kind of comes down to, okay, which one do I want size-wise? And one of the things that I really love about Corally and what they're doing lately is they're putting in, they're doing a lot of cross-compatible parts. So a lot of their parts are cross-compatible between vehicles, but there is some that are not. So they're trying to say around like 80% of their parts for the Asuga are compatible with other vehicles, and you really start seeing that when you get into comparing their other vehicles, like the Kagama and the Asuga. Comparing those two together is like, oh yeah, they're pretty similar. And then you get into the Spark, which has a lot of the same parts also, or they're cross-compatible. Maybe they have their own part numbers for control arms and things like that, but you could cross-compatible them over. I think one of the fun things that would really be fun to do would be take the Asuga control arms, throw them over on the Spark. I think it'll give it a little bit of wider of a stance. I think they're just a little bit longer, if I'm not mistaken, as well as maybe the front hubs might be a little bit different too. I'd have to look and see for sure, but that's kind of the big difference really when you look at, when you're comparing these two, the big difference is the size. What do you want for size? Do you want a little bit of a maybe overpowered 6S buggy, or do you want to, you know, right there, 6S buggy that's a 1/7-ish scale that is pretty tough? I mean, they're both going to be tough. I don't think you're really going to have problems with either of them on that aspect. You just got more of a vehicle to lug around on the same power with this as you do this, but this is more of a high ground clearance, bigger bash buggy. That kind of gets left up to you here. I mean, you're looking at $599 for an RTR and $529 for an RTR. So, you know, $70 price difference, ready to run for the size difference. That's really about it. So what size do you want? And do you want to spend $600 or $530? But other than that, I mean, they look, as far as upgrades and stuff, the same. Again, size difference, and still a ready-to-run 6S buggy this size for $600. Still a great deal. I think Team Corally is right on pricing of where they should be for what you get, comparative to other companies that are a lot higher than that for the same style and size of vehicle. And then $529 here, I still think that's a really good deal for a ready-to-run 6S buggy as well, just not quite as big. So the choice is kind of yours from there. Pretty similar buggies, just a little bit different in size and a little bit different in price, but both 6S power and both awesome, should be awesome bashers. I say should be because I haven't quite had this one out to drive yet. I'm just comparing here. But the Asuga I have had out. I've had it smoke a tree in midair and land on its front tire, and did break a control arm, but other than that, it's been rock solid. And then some of the best electronics out there. Again, pretty much Hobbywing, rebranded Hobbywings, but the way that Team Corally programs them is different than Hobbywing, and it's really, really good. There's a comparison look at the 3 Team Corally buggies. Again, depending on what you would want to go with and the price that you want to spend, I'm not going to necessarily make a pitch. They all have their purpose, but they're all also available on GarageLifeRC.com, all in stock, and you can get them shipped out very, very quickly. So if you're interested, hit up the website and check them out. Check out other people's reviews of these as well. Team Corally is doing some awesome things, and you should have a Team Corally vehicle in your fleet. And if you're looking for parts, don't think that you can only get them from Germany. I can get them for you very quickly. I just don't have them all on my site, but I am able to get you Team Corally parts. If you just hit me up, I can get them to you within a couple days here. So the Team Corally buggies. So thanks for checking this out. Please subscribe to the video. It helps me out a ton. Thanks for watching. And just remember that confidence is free, so don't forget to take some for yourself.